Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to one of my first many reviews about video games. So we're gonna talk a little bit about Manor Lords. Manor Lords is still pretty much on early access, which pretty much tells that like most of the things that you see in the game will still be, quite ready. Quite ready. It will be far from ready. So I'm playing the Game Pass version, which is at version 0.7955. Uh, but it's been a pretty fun ride playing this game, especially from the soundtrack that you're kind of hearing to pretty much certain aspects that you are kind of accustomed to the game. Settings. Let's start with the settings. Even though the game is still pretty much like these early stages, pretty much everything look works good, and it is good. I think it works on FSR 2 too. So you have your you have your FSR or your DLSS stuff. FSR means that it's basically most. It's still missing the Intel stuff and the NVIDIA, but perhaps they'll do that in the final release. But I kind of want to show you like one of the games that I've played. I'm gonna show you like at least like just talk to you about a little bit about the game itself. Um, it is pretty much it kind of gives you the feeling or the glory days of games like Settlers, Pharaoh, the good old times where games were actually pretty much engaging. So I'm gonna pause a little bit much and talk about a little bit in this the game is pretty much like several scenarios now that are available to you. This scenario basically it means that like you need to conquer people, you need to conquer all these territories. Right now I made this save. This is a loader save, like I have mostly everything. Your diplomacy tab, which means you can talk to people. Talking to people literally just means that like you can drag stuff and all that, and pretty much works like that. I think it's still a little bit because it's still pretty much the uh, well, it's still in early access, so early access, so they're still working a lot of things. Um, Controlling territories is pretty much literally just going from point A to point B, meaning that like if you need to declare that you want to capture, let's say for example Nuzzlehole, you need to use influence, which is a rare resource to use, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. So looking a little bit about the world map, you have things that's like trade points, which means that like you can get stuff. Traders come from these points. Overall resources on the map, you only have 5 types of resources. There'll be other things in the map, such as bandit camps and all that. The resources you have, it's wild animals, which give you leather and meat. Iron deposits for your weaponry. Stone, which is necessary to upgrade your buildings and building better buildings. Clay, which is also necessary to upgrade buildings and ramp up everything. And berry deposits, which give you berries, stuff for medicine, and you can use them for dye. And also, if you guys can see here, you guys can see my armies. So we'll talk about that later. So as as you develop your cities, you see that the minimap also changes. Like this is my main town when I started this scenario. I have another town here and pretty much another town here. So if you encroach, you can actually see pretty much how everything works. See here, farmhouse, which literally you can put 8 people in it. Basically, the workers here function as families. So if a family gets introduced or it's welcomed or travels to your region, you can then put your family to work inside the place. In this case, farmers, forest huts, which repopulate the trees that your woodcutters, your logging camps, woodcutters do. Woodcutters give you firewood, so it's one of the two most like necessary resources which you have. You need to have food and fuel, which come from firewood or coal, which has to do a little bit with the tech tree. Um, so yeah, give a little bit of the overview. So basically, what you need to do is you need to build houses so that your people get inside of them. You get more people. If your approval rate is above 50, migration happens. If it gets below, I think between 50 and 35, people still stay, but otherwise they just leave. I'm pretty sure. Which is kind of a little bit of a dragging situation. It can be sometimes. Um, and also you can upgrade your burglage. So the higher level your burglage is, you have access to more things. For example, you get access level 1. I think I have some level 1s here still. Level 1, you get access to basically vegetable gardens, chicken coops, goat sheds, and if you unlock this research, you get apple orchards. Level 2s, you get access to bakeries, tailors, armors, fletchers, cobblers, blacksmiths, breweries, and joiners. Basically, the joiners, fletchers, armorers, and blacksmiths are needed for you to grow your military. That's they are literally inexpendable. So another thing, you have your buildings where you gather your food. You have your granaries, you have your storehouses, you have a trading post where you can buy and sell stuff. Of course, if you sell some things for a long period of time, their value decreases. So you kind of need to keep on a rotating system. You can either buy or sell. Logistics are basically assured by a thing called hitching post, which can then be upgraded to a small stable. Oxes can actually do the heavy work. Horses not so much, but they're good for trading stuff. You have your churches. Churches are good because they give you, once you build them, you get influence, and they actually work as your graveyard, meaning that if there is a battle and your peasants die, they can actually bury them. You have your taverns. I think I can actually talk like a little bit by the construction menu. So basically, gathering is literally your tier 1 and the stuff that you need to build first of everything. Logging camps to chop wood to get timber. Firewood from woodcutters, which is needed to warm the houses and fire up your industry basically. Saw pits, which are actually pretty good, convert timber to planks, which is needed for tier 2 constructions, and foresters to replenish the trees. Hunting camps for hunting, foragers, and we have apiaries. I still haven't unlocked this research. Mining is pretty simple. You can either mine stone or clay or iron, as I've described before. Storage systems, granary for foods, storehouse for everything else, pack station for bartering between places that you control, regions that you have settlers, and leeching posts, which you can then upgrade to stables that can get oxes and all that. Housing stuff. Burgage is your level 1 houses. You need water wells, which then you can see like in where you can build them. You can only build them in these like white places. Marketplaces. Marketplaces are basically is a type. It's not type of building, but type of clearance where the people that work in certain buildings, they can actually have their own stalls in which they can sell their own produce to the populace, which is kind of good. Firework cart and food cart are things that you unlock with the research. I'll show it to you afterwards. Breweries for selling ale and to upgrade people to tier 3. churches, so I talked about this. Corpse pit, if you don't have churches, you just send them there. Fields, let's talk about crops and farmhouses. So crops are pretty much an interesting concept in Manor Lords. You can establish crop cycles, meaning that, for example, you can produce three things: wheat, barley, and flax. What is the issue? Same thing as real life. If you keep on plowing the fields, there will be times where the nutrients are not good. So the next year's harvest is going to be dog shit. Meaning that it will reduce the fertility of that said produce. Some more effective than others, but if you establish a crop rotation, at least have 1 year of follow, which means that like you need to have multiple farmlands for multiple crop rotations. Pastures, which then you can use to put animals such as you can see here, sheep and lambs. Talking about a little bit about livestock, oxen is for carrying heavy luggage, horses is for trading, and mules is for trading between regions. Windmills take grain, then turn it to flour, and then you have your bakeries that use flour. Industries, you have your bloomery, which transforms iron ore to iron slabs, which is necessary to produce weaponry. Smithy for tools, which they don't have like a purpose right now, so you just trade them. Clay necessary for upgrade buildings such as the church. Malt house to produce malt, and then you use a burgage to transform into a brewery. Tannery for leather, which is your tier 1 in terms of clothing. Linen, which can then be sent to a tailor. You upgrade a burgage to a tailor and they can produce stuff. And dyer's workshop that produces dyes, which can give access to certain tiers of clothing, as you can see here. So for example, cloaks and clothes and cloaks need dye. Trade outpost, I explained it already. Basically, trading outposts, you literally just you have access to everything. You need to establish trade routes in order for the trades to be common. Otherwise, traders won't come very often. You can see that like most of the trades here cost a lot of money, which is kind of interesting because there are upgrades that actually decrease it. And it kind of depends on the things, like minor trades don't require a lot, but major trades require a lot for to establish a trade route. So these are the most lucrative. Livestock trading post for you to trade, for example, for sheep, lambs, and the rest. Administration. Settlers camps are basically camps that you do when you conquer a region. You can put one of these. They kind of rank differently. The 251 is the smallest one. They go up until 750, which give you lots of resources to start your things. And your manor. Your manor literally is basically your headquarters, meaning that you build a manor, you can build walls and gates, an outer tower for garrison space, not protected to be when you're attacked. Garrison tower, which increases your retinue size, I will show you that. And tax office, that for now is just cosmetic. You can literally just control taxes from your mansion. So taxes are pretty much separated between land tax, tithe, which for now is the only way that you can actually use to have influence, besides defeating bandits, etc. Mercenary taxes, citizen taxes, penalties, and war taxes are still not implemented. The more you increase your taxes, your land tax, the less people will find you attractive, and yeah, they will leave. And this leaves us to retinues and armies. So armies are actually pretty interesting. In my case, I have 3 manors spread through this entire land. So you have your Before I start speaking about like each type of army, I'm gonna talk about like this is literally the formations. This band unit is you can only disband the unit from where it came from, and it's basically the faster way for you to get numbers back up. Spread out for when facing archers, run, you drain a lot of stamina, and hold to hold. There's lots of statuses. I think they should actually work on this a little bit more. And yeah, so in terms of armies, you can hire mercenaries, which have access. You can see lots of. For some reason, my playthrough is kind of bugged. I can only have these mercenaries to play with. But you can recruit several types of mercenaries. You can recruit footman, spear, polar, and archer. So mercenary types depend. Your armies or militias depend on the place where you want to build. So, for example, in Aikau, I can build. I have access to lots of resources, so I could build a lot. It really depends on the number of people that you have in your town, in case men. So yeah, you really if you want to build a large army, you need to have lots and lots of people. All of these resources that are not grayed out, you can build them with either wood, in this case planks for shields, planks for warbles, and iron ingots for spears and sidearms. The rest is still, I think, work in progress. The best thing about this is actually the retinue, which are these little men. Retinue actually is kind of nice because you can actually upgrade them. You can work with them, you can give them like new pieces of armor in order for them to be stronger. You can change helmets, you can change weapons, so to speak, body types, and I think they will actually work on some expertise traits. Now you have no access to them. Uh, Pretty much this is an overall of like how a game is played. You have literally the seasons. Basically, you have months. Months have seasons. So, for example, berry bushes start giving up berries during the spring. Your crops are actually good for that. You start doing that. Summer, you wait for the crops. In autumn, you harvest. And then during winter, you need to have basically like everything like together, otherwise you're kinda done. This is basically like how the game is right now. There is a lot of things that you can do in the game. Not gonna spoil everything. Oh, there is actually like one thing that I want to talk about, which is these little icons. Treasury, which comes from taxes. Influence, which you can do for claims. And we've already seen that it comes from church stuff. King's favor. In my case, I have -6 because I'm against people that have claims territories, and I'm like, I don't care. And now royal text. There is no king yet, at least that I know in this version of the game. So for you to see like how the game is played, like let's just show you a little quick bit, like people do their daily lives. And there is actually like a very nice icon that the game has. So for example, I'm watching this and I want my character to see it. So you can use your leech to basically just walk around and see your town, your daily life of your town. I think this is actually like the best thing about Manor Lords. I'm really hoping that they kind of expand on this, like it's a kind of a mountain blade like type of thing. You should be able, for example, to interact with people, like and do stuff. This is our church and all that. We have our houses here, our villagers, and all that. You can even see battles and all that. It's actually an amazing thing. But yeah, pretty much this is the core of the game as it is right now. Although, like I've said, this is like one of the scenarios. If you start a new game, you can customize everything. Customize your coat of arms, you can choose like your avatar. And then you have scenarios that are still for now 3 only. I've only finished restoring the peace one. which I found it actually amazing. And you customize any single option that you see here in the game. So yeah, I actually, if you guys enjoy city sims and all that, I advise Manor Lords as it is right now. I advise it for you guys to play. But yeah, drop your commentaries on the commentary section. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay safe, stay good. I usually stream on YouTube, so drop a follow, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.